Welcome to Fox Weather Philly on Thursday, which is a gorgeous day. Temperatures in the 50s. You would never know what is brewing out in the west.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Temperatures upper 40s to low 50s, but we have cold weather advisories that will really kind of knock us off of our feet as we head toward the upcoming weekend, not to mention winter storm watches that have already been posted for significant impacts across the area here locally, but I mean nationally. Millions are, I mean, we really mean, you know, most of the country is going to have some type of impact out of this system.
Absolutely. Over 130 million people are impacted by the storm because they're under warnings right now. We're going to show you real quick the warning area. The winter storm watch went into effect today for the Delaware Valley. We talked about this last night on Fox 29 News at 10 and 11, that would probably happen. Heavy snow, the reason why, maybe a little mixing with sleet and freezing rain. But look at the rest of the country. There's going to be ice. There's going to be heavy snow. And where you see the pink, that's already a winter storm warning because that's where this storm is going to really have its genesis. We talked about the cold weather advisory. It used to be called the wind chill warning or advisory. That is for wind chills in our area between 0 and 8 below 0. That begins tomorrow night at midnight until 10 a.m. on Saturday, I believe. I mean that's going to be unbelievable.
Brutal.
Yeah, brutal. So we brought one of our favorite friends in, meteorologist Jim Eberwein, meteorologist at the National Weather Service for decades, retired, but now he's a consulting meteorologist. The emergency managers turned to this guy. And Jim, it's so great to have you here and your insight because you have forecasted in the Delaware Valley for decades, and we really appreciate your insight on this one.
Well, thank you, Kathy and Scott, for having me on. And yes, this is the kind of storm that forecasters, they look at and they prepare for, but when they come, they say, this can't be happening, but this one's going to happen.
Absolutely. And Jim, when you look at this, I mean, we look at the cold air. First of all, we always talk about cold air damming, that high pressure anchored to the north that's going to keep the cold air in and lock it in. And you can see this graphic just showing the intensity of this particular cold air mass. I mean, this isn't your average cold. I mean, this is going all the way down to the deep south.
Yeah, it's part of the polar vortex. And the last time we had something like this was back in 2014. And it was extremely cold over us for a real long stretch. But yeah, this is going to impact many people and especially the aviation industry.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
A lot of the airlines are offering folks the opportunity to change their flights or get waivers. What's your advice on taking advantage of something like that?
Well, if I had an emergency trip, I would certainly try to make my plans today and change them. If you're scheduled and trying to get out of here, say Saturday or Sunday, I would certainly probably try, if it's an emergency trip, see if you can get out today or tomorrow. But otherwise, it's going to be locked down across the airways and national airspace in the next couple of days.
What's interesting is I even have a friend that texted me today and said, I'm leaving to go to Arizona today, and I'm supposed to come home Monday. So clearly Monday is not a good idea. And I asked her, do you have a connection? Because that would play into this as well. What do you say to those people, Jim? This is like for a friend's birthday.
Well, if she's coming back Monday, chances are, especially later in the day, she'll be okay. They'll probably have most of the runways cleared at Philly International, and the only problem then would be the wind. But the winds without the snow, no, I don't think she'd have a problem coming in late Monday.
Okay, well that's good because I would be really worried.
I would think there would be like a ripple effect or a snowball effect. All these airports are looking at some type of snow or ice or, I mean, with this system impacting the vast majority of the country, I would think there would be a ripple effect.
I'm telling you, Scott, I'll tell you, when I teach a class in aviation weather for pilots, and this kind of setup with the icing, especially to our south, that is a major concern when you have freezing rain. Yeah, I'll take the snow any day over the ice, but it's an aviation hazard.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you're going to be in Dallas or if you're in Charlotte or you're somewhere where you're going to have an ice storm, clearly it's going to be much more difficult.
Yeah, and a lot of those areas, I grew up in the Carolinas, cold air damming, that sets the stage for crippling ice in the Piedmont of the Carolinas, through Charlotte, through Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem, Raleigh, Durham, moving into the mountains of Virginia. So the setup is there for that, right, Jim?
Scott, you just shut down 10 airports.
Single-handedly.
Single-handedly. Oh, my goodness.
And you know what, Jim? Let's talk about that because the last time I remember like every single major airport along the East Coast being closed at one time was in 93. I know it's happened since then. But that was,
96,
Yeah, 96 it happened again. And then, maybe, I don't even know if 2016 when we got 22.4 inches here.
Oh, yeah. We had some major disruptions because a lot of these runways are built for the wind direction. And if the wind is opposed to the direction of these runways, they have what they call wind shear. They have a limit on how they can land an airport. Each airplane has a limit of how much of a crosswind it can take before it lands. And you add ice on that top of that, and you add wind on top of that. Yeah, this is going to be a major shutdown as far as the aviation industry.
How have things changed, Jim, with handling these type of storms from the 90s to where we are now? I mean, we're talking about decades of advancements.
We're getting better, Scott, but sometimes the models now we're introducing AI into the whole suite of models, and sometimes they'll show us some outlandish storms, and it's up to the forecaster to sit down and say, "Boy, this doesn't look realistic. This is not realistic." They're getting better though, and we're starting to compare the AI models with the regular global models and seeing if they're coming into some sort of consensus. But still, when you see something like this, like I said, you plan for something like this. You know it's going to happen perhaps in the winter, but when you see it you're staring down the barrel of a shotgun. You say, "This really can't be happening." But again, this is happening, and we haven't had to deal with too many of these over the past 10 years. But we're in the most densely populated part of the country, so what we give up in intensity, we make up in people. So this could be a crippler. If this was Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, it would really be a crippling storm.
Yeah, I mean, we're so lucky that it's on a Sunday. Jim, let's talk about the genesis of this storm because people have been asking for days, have been asking Scott and I, and I'm sure yourself, about how much snow, and we're trying to tell everybody, hey, the storm hasn't even developed yet. So let's take a look at the genesis of the storm, and you can walk us through it. So here's a look at our weekend storm, and this is obviously as it moves toward Philadelphia, but we're watching this Pacific moisture coming off the Baja that's going to feed into this.
Yes. Well, what we do as forecasters, and you guys do the same thing, you take the storm that's coming at you and you look at its water content. It's called the quantitative precip forecast. You look at the amount of moisture that's coming with this storm, and then we use what they call the standard 10-to-1 ratio. If you're going to have a 1 inch of rain, then that's going to equate with cold temperatures to 10 inches of snow. And so you look at the temperature, what it's going to be, you look at the moisture, and that can fluctuate between a very heavy wet snow, where you have your dew points real high, or a very dry snow. And sometimes instead of a 10-to-1 ratio, you could have a 20-to-1 ratio, meaning you could have 1 inch of liquid, and that's going to equate to 20 inches of snow because of the temperature. Yeah. And that's what we're faced at, this rain snow ratio. But the standard is 10-to-1.
And you know what? We created this graphic for you, and here's your ratio. We're calling it the fluff factor.
Yeah.
1 inch of liquid at different temperatures can mean a lot different as far as snow. Last weekend, our temperatures were around 35, so that would produce 5 inches of snow.
Yeah, we've been talking about this all week. Folks have been asking a little bit about how this snow is going to differ from the past snowstorms, and it comes down to that temperature and the fluff factor. So it's not going to take a whole lot of liquid to really get that snow to pile up.
Yeah.
Now, initially, because of that just Arctic dry air mass, Jim, the atmosphere will have to overcome some of that dry air initially, but once things get going, it's going to kind of stack up, right?
When you get up on Saturday, the local radar, you're going to see it'll probably be painting green overhead, and you're thinking, well, it shows something, but how come it's not snowing yet? Well, like you said, the air so close to the ground, a couple of thousand feet, is very dry. These dew points, they were in minuses yesterday. Now we're into the 30s now, but they're going to drop again. And when they drop, the air is very dry, so you'll see the precip come in aloft, but it's going to take a while for it to saturate all the way down to the ground, and that'll come as you get into the evening hours Saturday when the temperature starts to fall, and then you'll start to see it start snow overnight Saturday.
Yeah, into Sunday. Yeah. So, Jim, we have to take a short break, but we need to dig into these models. We talk about them all the time. We're going to talk about those long-range models and the short-term models as we get closer. So we will be right back with more with Jim Eberwein, meteorologist and consulting meteorologist. It's going to be very interesting, Jim, and we're happy that you're with us. We'll be right back.
Thank you very much, both of you. We appreciate it.
Welcome back to Fox Weather Philly on this pre-storm Thursday.
Wow.
Yeah, we're looking at a major winter storm, and the fact that it's affecting so many millions of people across the country makes this even more impactful.
I know, not only the local impacts, but we both have family and friends across the country, and they're asking about how much ice are we getting, how much snow are we getting, when is it going to start? So millions are going to be impacted by this wide-reaching storm system, and it's going to be one probably for the record books, and we haven't officially had 12 or more inches of snow in Philadelphia since 2016 from one snowstorm.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we brought our friend, meteorologist Jim Eberwein, in to talk a little bit more of this. Jim is forecast for this local area for how many decades, Jim?
1972.
1972. Wow. So you were 12.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, you were 12 years old. You started young.
Oh, yeah, I started when I was 12. Yeah, I'm only 39 now.
There you go. So Jim and I met when I was doing a project when I was in school for meteorology, and I was at Syracuse University and Oswego State, and I had to contact a local meteorology office because I wanted to do my senior project on leech replenishment and at the Jersey Shore. So guess who I randomly called and became my mentor years later? It was Jim. So
I got to tell you this, Kath. I was so disappointed when I'm a big Flyers fan. I was so disappointed you weren't related to Bobby Orr.
Well, distant cousin, Jim. Distant cousin. That's what my family says. So we'll see. But getting back to the weather, of course, our loves here. Let's talk a little bit about the storm and the different models. So we have the European model, we have the American model, and we talk about them all the time. Are there certain biases with one versus the other?
When these models came on board years ago, they had their biases, and the biases, say, for one model was two or three different things that didn't take into consideration the water temperature, the elevation. And now, if you look at the biases with these models and compare them, there's pages and pages. Some don't take a good sample of the initialization, which is what the weather is right now. That's the most important part. If these models are able to grab the atmosphere right now and do a pretty good job at the initialization, then looking forward for a couple of days, they do a very good job. But if they screw up and not take everything into account initially, then things are going to be off. Tracks are going to be off. Intensity is going to be off. And in the case of the European that we're looking at, that warm air that's being pushed up to the north, that may be something that was not completely put into the model and it didn't initialize very good. Whereas the other ones are showing this 1050 millibar high coming out of Iowa, pushing cold air all the way to the coast. And that's the first shoe to drop. So you look for the cold air, and now you're looking for the thing coming up from the south. But the battle line, this is where the problem comes with this, Scott and Kath. The battle line is you really don't get to see it until it's almost the storm is on top of you. And that's the problem. So, we can talk about this, changing over to rain, changing back to sleet and over to snow and snow totals, but you really, really won't have a good idea until you see on the physical radar. Like in our case, we would be looking at Sterling, Virginia, to see where the rain snow line. We'd be looking at Wakefield to our south or upstream, and then track it and see how the model is handling it at that particular time, and then go from there on what we would look for as far as snow totals, a change over to sleet, and as Scott said, that freezing rain with the cold air damming. This is a very, very a difficult storm. If we had one that formed over Hatteras and intensified at 40 degrees north and 70 degrees west, there'd be no doubt about it. We wouldn't be talking about the type of precip. We'd be talking about how much snow we're going to get. But we always talk about the type and the changeover. And when you tell somebody the forecast, you give all these adjectives, and they walk away and say, what the heck did he just say?
So. Exactly. Yeah. So let's take a little look at this European model, and we'll step through it and talk about that warm air that this is introducing to the forecast, because Scott and I started talking about it a couple nights ago, and it definitely changes things, and it's very aggressive. So it still has the snow coming in early Sunday morning. You can see moving in by 6, 7 a.m., snowing heavy during the late morning into the early afternoon, but there's that wedge of a wintry mix or sleet moving in, and it gets up to the Lehigh Valley, and look how close to Philadelphia that rain gets. This would be early Monday morning, and you can see it's long gone by the morning hours of Monday for cleanup. But do you think that that warm air is being overdone by the model?
The only way you're going to know for sure is if you look at the next model run, because right now the models are in consensus with a big snowstorm coming. But when you look at the Euro, say 2 runs back, it didn't show that warm air. Now it's introducing it. So what you have to do, and the good thing is, Kathy and Scott, is we have 2 days to figure this out, because now we're going to look at succeeding model runs to see if it goes back to pushing the warm air farther south. That's pretty much the way you're going to say, if it continues on this trend, and you have to give it some sort of credence that, yes, there's a possibility that this could change over for that period of time. And I think that was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But look at the important thing. Sometimes the models are run 4 times a day, and the more important ones are the 12Z and the 00. The 18 ones are kind of intermediate runs, don't have all the data that the other ones do. So look at the ones for the 12Z, and that's what we're looking at now. They'll have an 18Z one, which will cover that period Sunday. Then you can get an idea if it's trending in that direction. Yeah. That's pretty much the way the forecasters look at it.
Yeah, we're waiting for consistency. Yeah. That's what we've been talking about on the air as well. We're going to take a short break, Jim. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about that ice potential and what this all would mean for the Delaware Valley coming this weekend. You're watching Fox Weather Philly. welcome back to Fox Weather Philly. We're talking everything snow and the snowstorm that is going to hit us over the weekend. The cold air comes in by Saturday morning. We're talking about a cold weather advisory for wind chill Saturday morning that could get as low as 8 degrees below zero. Winter storm watch is posted for the entire region, which could become a warning as early as tomorrow. Meteorologist Jim Eberwein has forecast here since the 1970s, and he was with the National Weather Service office in Mount Holly, now retired and a consulting meteorologist. And Jim, we know that you've seen so many of these, and it's like a snowflake. No two are the same.
No. I thought you said 1870s, but you said 1970s. That's when the Weather Service began. No, I've been through so many of these, and it's always the same feeling, Scott and Kathy. Where is that rain snow line going to be? That's always the question that the forecasters had. And you mentioned if they put up a winter storm warning on Friday, again, that's another confidence factor. Wherever they put that warning up, they're saying that there's going to be at least 5 inches of snow or an appreciable amount of freezing rain. But I would kind of lean mostly toward the amount of snow.
Yeah. Does this look like it's setting up like any prior storms that you've studied or done forecasts for based on, the moisture we've been watching coming out of the Baja California area, the track, the more zonal track across the country? Does this kind of rival any of the past systems?
I went back and I found, Scott, about 4 storms or 5 storms that had a similar setup, what we call a synoptic setup. The surface map and the upper air and the cold air coming in. And one was in the 80s, then 2003, and then 2000. But the thing they all had in common is they gave us over 10 inches of snow. Although they have not had this pattern or like an analog to look back on. There's only been a couple of storms. I guess the closest one, I think the Philly office mentioned it too. I think they said to Jonas in 2016. That kind of mirrored it too, because that came out of the plains. But what happened with that one, it rapidly intensified off in New Jersey. We had a different upper air flow, and that gave us not only the record snow, but it also gave us the record tide for Cape May County. So this one is not going to be, this one will be without a tide effect. But there will be, as it intensifies a little bit, there'll be a little bit of minor tidal flooding, I think, for Sunday night into Monday as the storm pulls away.
Okay. Yeah, everyone's just worried about how much they're going to shovel and if they're going to be able to get out of their houses on Monday.
Yep. And that's the thing. You got to, if whatever's not cleared up is going to freeze.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be an issue. So, Jim, let's take a quick look at that GFS model, the other model that we were talking about, that does not really bring in that warm air that we discussed, a lot like we saw with the European model. So this is the GFS model, and you can see it's just clouds rolling in on Saturday. Here comes the snow, similar timing as the European model, snowing all day, but you only see a mix getting into South Jersey and Delaware, and it's later. And by Monday morning, they still have snow over us.
Heavy snow.
Yeah,
and again, the other thing too is where you have that transition from a liquid phase to a snow phase. That's where your amounts are going to be the highest. Right on the north side of that rain snow line. That's where your amounts will be the highest. But again, imagine we're talking about it and trying to figure it out. Imagine the forecasters at the Weather Service. They're sitting there and they're waiting to hit that enter button on whether they're putting out a warning, and they're thinking, is it really going to happen? Is it really going to happen? Are we really okay? Yeah. So you got a time period now. You've got to push that enter button and either put that warning out or say, you know what, I'm going to hold off. My gut says I better hold off a little bit. And this is what we were faced with all the time. He's sitting there and he's just sitting there, and he feels like a man without a country sitting in front of that computer. And you guys do the same thing. You're thinking, should I hit that enter button? Because one thing forecasters won't do, and I don't know too many who have ever done it, is forecast an extreme event.
Yeah, let's talk about the bust potential with this system. The chances of a major storm, we know that's there, but let's talk about the bust potential, if there is any, with this one.
Oh boy!
Well, I'll tell you what, we've been through that a couple of times, and that's kind of interesting. But here's the thing: When I came in the Weather Service, 20% of the forecast was models, 80% was me. Now it's 90% models, 10% the person. So if the models are putting out an extreme event right today in 2026, and the forecaster says, you know what, I'm not buying any of this stuff, and he goes the other way, um, there's probably an office in Adak, Alaska, looking for somebody.
Oh, really? So yeah, the Weather Service is that focused on the models.
That's a tough thing, Scott. You just mentioned, and it has happened.
Yeah, I mean we have to be careful, and that's why we try to tell our viewers. And I know the Weather Service is very good at this as well. Is we're watching this. This storm hasn't even formed yet over the U.S.
That's right.
And once it does, all
That's
that
right.
data can go into the models and make better models as well.
Right. Now, see, the other thing too is all winter we've been watching these atmospheric rivers slam into Oregon and California, and there's no question those storms are going to hit the coast. Our storms, because of where we're located, our latitude, you'll see the potential a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. The other day, Kat, I was telling Scott, the AI model had through February 3rd, 44 inches of snow. So uh, you look at that and you say, "Oh gosh, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Are you
right.
kidding me?" So yeah, you're right. It's not even formed yet, and as it starts to move across the country, you won't know it until you get pretty close to the event starting.
Yeah.
When we look at the models, we have a couple minutes left. Here's the divergence of where the low pressure system that develops is. And you can see with the GFS, it's way offshore. That's why you're not getting much mixing. But that European is so aggressive coming north, which we know we'll be looking for that consistency in the models over the next 24 hours. And we do know there will be some mixing going on with sleet and freezing rain. In your opinion, do you think it will be more sleet along the I-95 corridor, or do you think there's an
I
opportunity
think
for even freezing rain?
I think there'll be some freezing rain, but I would think overall sleet would be the problem. As Scott mentioned, down in his neighborhood down in North Carolina and Virginia, yeah, they get it down there. But one of the most important things I found out in my career is when we have a storm like this, and the people ask me at certain times. Sometimes, I tell them, I say, I don't know at this point. Uh, but it's good. It's good that you're pointing out that the European is showing that warming pushing inland, because that's a possibility. But if you were not pointing that out, and then it would happen, people would say, "Oh, they missed it." It's nice that you're pointing out that there is a potential that you're going to have that far inland changeover, and if it doesn't happen, that's fine.